did something that I think was very smart, but at the same time can be a source burn, which is you talked about how Mike Waltz was courting as many members of the traditional press corps as he could in order to make sure his name was out there, because we all know, how does Donald Trump decide you're somebody worth hiring? If you do well in press interviews. And and you sort of called him out, this pretending he didn't know how Jeffrey Goldberg's number could have possibly gotten in there. And you're like, hey, this guy's been courting the press for a year and a half, the mainstream press for a year and a half.
Yeah.
So I think I know how this happened.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I didn't think of it as a source burn because I was like, it's a booking that didn't happen. I still am happy to talk to sources. But I just felt like if he appeared on my show, then I could have just pointed to it. But there was like a 20-minute window that I couldn't make work. And I didn't actually
Hmm.
really follow up on it because at the time I was like, he's a two-term congressman from Florida who voted to certify the election for Joe Biden. Trump's going to pick him out of everybody to be the national security advisor or some big role in the
You,
administration. I don't know what you were thinking at the time during the RNC convention, but that's what I was thinking. And maybe I was wrong, but I felt like he was really trying to build his profile. But he wasn't the only
hmm.
one. Like everyone from like the VP down was
Oh,
trying to talk to
yes.
journalists. So this whole idea that like the cardinal sin was talking to reporters, it's like that's what you do to survive in Trump world and to make it really. And that's what Trump does himself. So yeah, I hope that people didn't see it that way. I just wanted to clear the air because truly this is a person who was trying to build his profile and it worked.
I just thought it was notable because no other journalist did it.
Yeah. Well, you know what? When
I
you're on
mean,
the
I'm just saying,
outside,
and
you can do
I'm like,
you
good on
when you're on the
you.
outside, you can do some interesting things. You could be a little bit more real and honest. There's no one there. There was no editor there being like, Tara, I don't think that's like, you're not allowed to do that. And I'm like, I'm writing now a
Mm,
letter. I write in the first person. I speak from
mm,
my point of view, my perspective. I try to offer what is part of my mission is to peel back the onion a little bit and to show people
mm,
how the journalism is done, how the sausage is made, because I think there's a lot of suspicion about us because they don't know exactly how we do our job. So
mm,
whatever I can show without, while protecting my sources and my
mm,
relationships, I want to do because I think that will build trust, not just in my community, but in the
mm.
broader journalistic community, because there are still a lot of really great reporters out there working at mainstream outlets because they have to, because they have kids and they didn't make a lot of money, XYZ. I'm just so happen to be single and have like be able to do something like this. But
Hmm.
there are various reasons why other people can't leave mainstream media.
Right.
But I think it's worth it to explain, like, hey, this is the transactional, like not transactional, but this is how it's done.
There's got
I
to be
think there's
something
still
more.
more to Signalgate. What do you think? Do you think there's more, Chuck?
I do. I think there's so many Occam's razors to this. You know, if you told me that Jake Sullivan's contact list ended up in Waltz's phones, it wouldn't shock me. Like, if you do you see where I'm going here? Like
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
accidental, the transfer over. Like to me, that there's all sorts of scenarios that might be a lot more embarrassing, that in some ways are worse because it's
Yeah.
sort of an embarrassment. The fact is, and what does not gotten a lot of attention is they never went through the first round of transition sort of security briefings, right? There really
Hmm.
was an entire sort of congressionally mandated financial, with that is funded to a presidential transition in order to make sure people are using secure communications, to
Mm.
understand which apps are hackable and which aren't, and why, even though Signal is pretty good at protecting, if you're on a phone that isn't protected, then it doesn't matter how good
Hmm.
Signal is as encrypting things. So I do think this is a story of of the transition arrogance that they
Yeah.
all had, in that they didn't, for obviously Trump's absolutely he it's clear to me that he thinks his entire first term was undermined by this cabal of people all over the place. Maybe it was inside his own cabinet at times. Maybe it was inside his own West Wing at times, inside his own Justice Department, right? So he was so determined to prevent that they sort of went the other way, right? And didn't
Yeah.
get any sort of security briefings, didn't get any of these things that they should have had. So, I think that's that's something I'd be pursuing a lot more of as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of ego, a lot of testosterone, like Hegseth kind of like flexing his powers from infantry
Hmm.
guy to now being able to like target countries like this World of Warcraft stuff. I mean, it's just
Hmm.
like there's just so much so many personality issues that I see in the organization as well. And just the fact that like Trump is not willing to fire anyone. I mean,
But he
Mike Waltz
never
has already
has.
outlived
I mean, the
Flynn.
greatest myth of all was the idea that the guy in The Apprentice
Yeah.
was really Donald Trump. He's afraid, one of the interesting things is how he actually would rather have two sets of White House staff than to have to fire anybody. My favorite anecdote on this goes back to 2011 when there were when literally Donald Trump had Roger Stone doing preliminary work for running for president, and
Mm,
then he also had Michael Cohen doing preliminary work for running for president. Michael Cohen didn't know what Roger Stone was doing. Roger Stone didn't know what Michael Cohen was doing. I think it was Sam Nunberg, who was working with Michael Cohen at the time, who I think ended up stumbling upon, and then and literally Trump was going in one direction with one of his team. And this is the Trump way, right? He likes to pit people
team of
against each
rivals.
other.
Yeah.
He likes to have all sorts of, he never wants to be boxed in. He always wants an exit strategy, whatever it is. And so so in that sense, personality is personnel,
Right.
and is sort of covering this White House these days.